NOLA Pride back in action tonight. It's the season premiere of NCIS New Orleans on CBS. Scott Bakula returns as Special Agent Dwayne Pride, and in tonight's first episode, the team looks to track a sniper targeting crowded events in and around the city. Here's just a bit of a preview.
Right now, our only concern's the sniper.
Yeah, I thought we had a connection between the Vicks, but Master Chief messed that all up.
That's why I've been thinking. Maybe he wasn't the intended target.
Was kill shot just like the other two.
Yeah, but through the back, unlike the other two. Moving to assist the restaurant owner. What do we know about Bella's fiancé, Gilbert Lee?
I don't think Patton checked him out.
So you think the sniper was aiming at Gilbert, but the Master Chief just got in the way?
Bullet went right through him, into Gilbert, nearly killed them both. Expert marksman, high-powered rifle. Somehow, misses Gilbert on the first shot, doesn't have a choice on the second.
And he's here with us now. Scott, thank you so much.
Happy to be here.
For the time.
My pleasure.
It's not so much what we're going to see then as what we're going to continue to see then as things pick up. So set the table for us.
Well, at the end of last season, we saved the city and the port of New Orleans and the Mississippi from a terrorist attack. But my methods of doing business are not really approved by D.C. and the Department of Justice, and so they send the FBI down to kind of assess whether I should continue to be in charge of this office in this area. So that's kind of how we start, and they're in my face, and they're up in our business, and we're trying to still do our work and work with them, against them, around them. So that's how we get the season started.
Thankfully for dramatic narrative arcs.
Yes, exactly.
If nothing else.
Yes.
It's when not even a torn from the headlines quality exists. It's when your program, by virtue of its narrative spine, starts to parallel what we're seeing here. I mean, a sniper attack. When you see things like Dallas, terrorist attacks, like we just saw spanning 3 states here over the weekend.
Yeah.
What impact does that have on you, if nothing else, as a performer? Well,
it certainly heightens the reality, if you will. I mean, this script for our opening episode was written before any of that. Yeah. And, my first conversation was, are we going to throw this away? And do we want to do this? And there have been so many dramatic, difficult, troubling things that have happened since this script was written that it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And the sad part is that we're coming to accept this kind of these events as somewhat of a norm, and you start picking out if you start listing from the beginning of the summer till now what's happened on the planet, and it's overwhelmingly troubling, in my opinion. So we're law enforcement, a law enforcement agency. We police people in the Navy, and the Navy is now involved in terrorism and things like that around the planet. NCIS is leading that charge, and we're portraying some of those stories.
And for those who don't know, the Port of New Orleans, huge. I mean, protecting the Gulf, obviously huge in real life and in the program.
Yes.
And we thank
and the Gulf of Mexico.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned the horrors of real life. I do also want to ask you, because I know you were so involved in the devastating flooding that we saw in August in the state of Louisiana. 13 lives lost, hundreds of thousands of homes destroyed. It harkened Katrina all over again, and it's a resilient community.
Oh, yeah.
I do know. But as a community that has opened its arms and really, I know, taken you and the production in. What is it to be there during all of it?
Well, the overwhelming thing that's impressed me since, in the 2.5 years now that we've been kind of making New Orleans our home is the people, the kinds of people that live there, why they live there. They are kind of indestructible. Nothing phases them. They're all about taking care of each other. There is a certain attitude that, we don't know if help's coming, so we've got to help ourselves. And they reach out, and they're loading trucks in New Orleans, and they're taking truckloads of water and food and everything, and we're donating, and they're taking it up to all of their family, because they've got families in all those areas, and it's a pretty kind of close-knit community, especially southern Louisiana, and it says something to me about people that care that much, and you can't help but be affected by that. I have a crew full of, for the most part, people from there.
Natives, yeah.
You know, there may be 11 of us that are imported, and everybody else is from there. So after 2 years, you know who's had babies and families and histories and why they're there and what brings them. And it's they've been through a lot. They go through a lot, and looking at them from the outside, you sometimes wonder what's going on down here. Why don't they just move? Why do we stay here? And they have a history there that's beyond anything I've seen in the United States.
And it seems like it's a part of, you know, we heard it echoed here in New York City just over the weekend. Hey, we're a tough town. Certainly, it's a tough town. We're not going to take it, you know, sitting down. As I was preparing to speak with you today, though, I thought you really couldn't ask, arguably, Central Casting to send you a better city as a character than the city of New Orleans.
Yeah. There's so much. There's good, bad, and ugly there, you know, and historically they've been around for a long time. So you add that to it, not as long. You know, it's one of the oldest cities in this part on the planet, really, in this continent, and they all kind of know each other and they care, and it's just unusual. You know, somebody recently from there said, "I'm going to L.A. for the weekend. What's, you know, if you had to say one place," and I started thinking like, well.
You got but then you could.
But it's just a different.
Yeah.
You know, there's like, you know, they're very prideful of their community and their town.
Meanwhile, in LA, just make sure you're taking Olympic wherever you're going. Your EP, Christopher Silber, said something interesting about this season as it moves to a new time slot. That he's going to look perhaps to make each episode a bit more like a little movie. It seems to echo this golden age of television that we seem to find ourselves in now. And in a procedural, it is there's another bit of context there. But in terms of that narrative arc, have you already felt it? Have you seen the attempt to make these a bit bigger and maybe stand alone a bit more?
Yeah, it's kind of, we're working at cross purposes a little bit because we have this kind of big season arc that starts the season. It kind of goes from 1 to 11.
Yeah.
And then, so there is a flow to the first 11 episodes, but within that, there is this kind of determination to have each episode have a certain kind of vibe, a certain kind of event feel, a certain kind of framework that has a movie quality to it, and I think we're successful. We've got a really good start.
You have dipped your toe into the cult world a couple of times.
Yes, I have.
For those of us of a certain vintage,
yes.
Back in the late 80s and early 90s in Quantum Leap, and then again in the Star Trek franchise as Captain Jonathan Archer.
Yes.
It's returning to CBS All Access with a brand new
I know.
as well. It will be able, though, in its current incarnation when it arrives, be able to be streamed. And I wonder, just dramatically, and in terms, again, of narrative, what do you make of whole seasons now of programs able to be consumed if somebody really commits to a Saturday? I can watch an entire season, soup to nuts on the couch that day. How do you think that changes the stories that you're telling?
Well, I haven't been involved in anything like that, so I haven't really analyzed it, and I'm not a binge watcher because I don't like to watch things back to back necessarily.
Or back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah,
to back
I
to
just
back.
I never feel like I have that chunk of time in my life, but there's just something because of my generation, you know, you're used to it's okay to wait.
It is.
You know, and that's just a big difference in the world now. It's like I want it right now and I have to have it right now. And I'm fine to let it play out for, you know, as long as it takes. So I'm not but it's I don't know that it necessarily affects the storytelling that people, I don't think you're in the room saying everybody's going to watch this right in a row. I think in the cable world, when you're doing 10 or 13 episodes or less, then you can really kind of create that almost like a long form mini-series kind of vibe. And that's cool. That's fun to be a part of. But it's for 24 episodes. It's a long.
It is.
It's a long journey.
Boy, if you have 24 hours to watch anything on a weekend, more power to you.
Yes, and enjoy that.
Seriously. Hey, Scott.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks so much. Really.
Thanks
so much for being here.
Thank you.
Again, you can watch the season premiere of NCIS New Orleans tonight, 10, 9 Central on CBS.